Yeah, man. So we'll see, but that's been holding it down this summer. As far as NBA offseason storylines, things have been slow because I feel like every major free agent move happened like day one of free agency. Like it was almost as soon as that free agency clock hit, everybody had pretty much made their commitment to where they're going to be at. I mean, outside of James Harden, he opted in, and we know he's going to end up getting traded. I think that's going to end up becoming, like a Ben Simmons situation where he stays with the team for training camp and then ultimately ends up leaving. And so that
he make himself look like I almost said something else. He make himself look like a dumbass.
Yeah, I mean, even we've seen something like this with him similar. I mean, it wasn't the exact same from a contract standpoint, but the Rockets situation, where they just keep trying to put a different supporting cast around him. Because if you look at him in his career with Houston, James Harden, there was a Dwight Howard thing, right? Then there were a bunch of different supporting cast, a bunch of different systems. I don't think we've seen a player. And we're going to get to T-Mac's comments because T-Mac made a comment about how much James Harden has had from a roster standpoint, but even a coaching standpoint, a systematic standpoint. There have been so many different situations that coaches have tried to put James Harden in, try to optimize his game, and there's still been nothing to show for it. There have been these Western Conference Finals appearances, but there are these consistent playoff chokes. There's different teammates in different, cores, in different systems, different ways they use them, and there's still nothing happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you mentioned, there's different ways they use them. Like he have teams, especially with the Rockets, where his usage rate is like it's through the roof. Then you go to another team with the Nets when it's like way less as far as usage rate goes. But then he kind of still doesn't seem comfortable. Then we kind of see him go to Philly, where he's just like the traditional point guard. He get his 20 points and 10 assists per game, and is really not used as much as he was with Houston. And he's still unhappy with that. Like I don't like what does he want? Like, does he want to be a 30 points per game scorer, which I don't think he has in him anymore? Or does he want to be the traditional point guard that can dish out maybe 9 or 10 assists a night and still put up 20 points? I thought that's what he wanted.
He don't know what he wants, to be honest, at this point. Because, I mean, this is what? The second team in a row where he's trying to force his way off here. So now people are starting to say, okay, what's going on? Third. What's going on? Like, why does this keep happening? It can't keep on being the team or coach.
Yeah, they need to play.
You got to look in the mirror and say, okay,
they need to play Marvin Gaye's song "What's Going On" because that should be playing. Like I don't know.
That's crazy, but it's weird because with a lot of guys, I've just never. And like I said, Tracy McGrady made a comment about this. Basically, what he said the other day was, I pretty much across it. I don't understand for the life of me what James Harden's doing. Why are you trying to get out? That makes zero sense to me. Not only that, but I look at all the teammates he's played with. James has probably played with more Hall of Famers than anybody in the league, and he doesn't have a ring to show for it. Neither do you. I don't know what he's looking for, and maybe there's some internal BS that's going on that we don't know about because it doesn't make any sense to me to leave the MVP and the Eastern Conference where you have a shot at least to play for a championship. It's got to be something deeper than that.
And
they did say him and Daryl Morey's relationship was
true.
I don't care. I don't care about that.
But I don't know how much you should look into that.
I'm not gonna look at that because Daryl Morey went to a different team, ended up trading for James Harden again, and their relationship can't be that bad. Yeah. But let's real quick. Let's name some of the Hall of Famers or All Stars, these potential Hall of Famers or All Stars he played with. He's played with Russ twice.
Yeah,
played with KD twice. That's actually Kevin Durant, and that's the weird thing. Kevin Durant and James Harden played with each other twice. That's a weird thing in himself. He's played with Kyrie, obviously. He's played with Dwight Howard, but even though he wasn't really in his prime yet, he was still a all-star caliber type of player. He was still good enough for whatever the case may be. So you got him. Who else am I missing? He played with Chris Paul, obviously.
Did you say Joel Embiid?
Yeah, Joel Embiid now, and Chris Paul, one of the best point guards of our time, easily, and Joel Embiid, the MVP now. So he's played with 3 former MVPs.
Yeah.
So
and nothing to show for it. And it would be different if you were like, has he been used the right way? Like that's what the case was with Giannis, right? Mm-hmm. I think with Giannis, and I know he still won a championship under the same coach, but with Giannis, we were like, is he being used the right way? Is this the best way to have him, attacking downhill every single possession? Like, is that the best way to use him, right? And then there was a systematic change by Mike Budenholzer where he spends a lot more time kind of down low. He plays more of this hybrid center role instead of this like almost guard-like thing they tried to make him do before Drew Holiday got there, and it worked. So we've seen that with some guys where you're like, maybe there needs to be a different way we use him to optimize him, right?
Yeah.
With Harden, we talk about, like I said earlier, we talk about how many teammates he's had, how many different situations from a systematic standpoint has he been in, and they still haven't worked. There was the whole small ball thing with Russ, where they had nobody, I think, over 6'10" or something like that with that team that lost, I think, in the second round. Then we saw, I mean, all that was with D'Antoni. There was the thing where, post, I think some of the Kevin McHale days, and there was another guy, I think, in between. I think there was a JB Bickerstaff days when D'Antoni gets there. Yeah, when D'Antoni gets there, that's now, okay, let's put James Harden in a million pick and rolls. Let's make him our full-time point guard. Let's give him more touches, like Carl said. There was that. Then like you guys said, there's the Sixers thing where, I'm a true point guard now. And I think he may have led the league in assists. I could be wrong, this year, something like that. I got to go back and look. But he was basically playing more of a true point guard type of role. He's been in so many different systems that have been built to benefit him with many different coaches. And it still never really worked out for him. You know what I mean?
I'm really starting to think, and I don't want to make it like a conditioning thing. I'm really starting to think he isn't the best condition all the time, because we've seen spurts where he really looks like the fast James Harden. He looks quick-footed and everything like that. But then we see spurts of him where he looks really methodical and slow. It's very weird, and we all know about the situation when he left the Rockets, how he kind of just looked out of shape on purpose, like he was trying to leave. So it's weird in and of itself.
Yeah, it'll be interesting seeing how this thing works out for him, because at this point in his career, with Harden, I don't really know what the best situation. Like you said, the fucked up thing about this whole T-Mac quote is, yeah, you've played with everybody. Now what? Like, what situation could be better for James Harden? Now you wonder, can he win a title actually? Like, what's a better fit for him at this point?
I mean, he's trying to force away to LA. Would that be a better situation than what he's in with
Nah,
I think talent wise it would be, but it kind of comes down to availability.
Go ahead, Carl.
I was just about to say it might be a better fit, it might be a better look, but as we're seeing with KD and James Harden, they think they can just play about, okay, if I go to this team, I can win championships and I get this best player on the team. And it literally doesn't work in their favor every time. Why do you think that is? Because it just doesn't work like that. You just can't imagine, if I go to this team, I win a championship. Will that happen? And then they act like they get surprised when they go to a team, especially with players that aren't really like known for being healthy all the time. If you go to a team full of players, if you go to a team full of players that's known as being not healthy, what do you think is going to happen?
And then here's my thing, Blake. You said the Clippers is at a better situation. Here's the truth. There's not a better situation than Philly. That team was so well balanced. I think that's the best roster he's ever been on. There's Tyrese Maxey. There's Tobias Harris. There's spacing. There's defensive bodies. There's everything there. And it came down to a game 7, and it literally just came down. It wasn't that the Celtics were that much more talented. It literally came down to you not showing up and not playing well. It's just that. There is not there. I don't think there's ever going to be a better situation outside of him maybe playing with LeBron, which is just not going to happen. There is just not a situation that's going to work for James Harden.
It said something. You said, I'm just playing. I'm not.
No,
I don't want him. I don't want him. We had a great thing going. Actually, we just need to. Yeah, but yeah, and that's ironic because for Tracy McGrady to make those comments, I'm not saying anything. Everything he said was right, but is he the right person to like send that message?
I don't know.
I mean, even granted, he didn't play. Granted, he didn't play with the great players that James Harden did. Obviously, like we know that might have been a setback. But Tyler, like you mentioned to me earlier, he didn't make it out the first round. So can you really speak to it? Can you criticize a person that's been to at least one Western Conference Finals when you haven't made out the first round your whole career?
I mean, if you compare their careers, Harden's been more successful than T-Mac, right?
That's what I'm saying. So I
also think Harden has been in much better situations than T-Mac.
And he's a former MVP.
Yeah, like like T-Mac's career started, or his prime, his best years started. He expected to be with Grant Hill, and then Hill gets hurt, and that Grant Hill T-Mac thing never ends up happening. So obviously, the teams he had in Orlando, and even he had better teams in Houston, but his career from a playoff standpoint is one of the worst we've seen from a superstar. But there were some years in Orlando where he didn't even make it. There was a year in Houston where he didn't even make it, never made it out of the first round as the best player on his squad, or even as the second best player on the squad. Yeah. So there's that. But yes, I think he has the right to say. If you're an outsider, if we can say it, then he can, right? Like T-Mac is one of the greatest players of all time. But I don't think it's bad coming from him. Because some people are like, T-Mac, you can't say that because you. But at the same time, you can criticize a guy who's had a better career than you. You know what I mean?
It is ironic though that they both played for the Rockets, and probably the most loyal Rocket fans probably like James Harden. Obviously, you want an MVP there, but I guarantee you, I don't guarantee, but I will probably say you would be surprised how many beloved Rocket fans would say Trace McGrady was better.
Yeah. That is a question about who. I mean, I don't think T-Mac is. I don't think T-Mac.
I think that comes. If people saying that, it kind of comes down to nostalgia. I mean,
yeah, they look at skill. They look at skill and compare it because obviously accomplishments. T-Mac can't hold a candle.
It's not even a
So
from a skill standpoint,
skill wise, it's kind of close. I'm not gonna lie. Skill wise, it's not as big as a gap as people think it is.
Nah, skill wise, it's right there, and I wouldn't be mad if anybody went with T-Mac. I'm be honest, skill wise,
either or.
Skill wise, I have to say Harden. I think the stuff that Harden was doing in his prime, you couldn't stop that dude. Like I think James Harden, like all playoff from a skill standpoint, he's there was so many parts of his offensive game he mastered: the 3-point ball shot, the drive to the basket, and his ability to manipulate.
Yeah, and I was just about to say what was one of the best parts of his games was the referees. I hate it. I'm not the only person that. My theory was why James Harden seemed like he declined rather than sometimes it being the system is because remember that one season, I think it was 2 years ago, where they stopped calling those same fouls that they did in previous years, and he seemed to be struggling. Kind of figured it out now, but he seemed to be struggling. So I think the way he manipulated the game in some aspects, not saying he could have averaged 30 because he could have, but they used to piss me off a lot.
But but also these guys when they train to do stuff like that. So for you to know,
pisses me off.
You to know how, but it's a trick of the game.
They're doing what they know is going to get them to the line and what's going to help them score.
And the referee,
they getting points off of that, then they going to do it.
But my question is, why do you think the referees in the NBA kind of like revised that and was like, are we calling like ticky-tack fouls or stupid fouls? That's the reason why. They literally started noticing people are like doing stuff that's out of their shooting motion just to get a foul call, or they're leaning into a player to get a shooting foul. Like even Steph to some extent does that. And I don't want to knock Steph because he's potentially the greatest point guard ever, but Steph manipulates a lot of fouls still to this day too. So
I think Harden's offensive game, and it's saying nothing bad about T-Mac because T-Mac was a monster, and we saw what he was doing to Kobe and during their prime years. Yeah, but James Harden, there's Kyrie. As far as guys I watched play, because I didn't get to see Kobe. 2003 Kobe was peak Kobe. That was the peak. I think that's the best basketball anybody's ever played in the history of the game. I didn't get to see Kobe in his actual prime.
Yeah, we was what, like 2 years old or something like that?
Yeah, we was young, but 2003 Kobe, I don't think there's anybody better than that. But I can't think of nobody. But
I can think of a coach. I can think of a guy.
Who? No.
MJ.
He gonna say MJ.
I'm gonna say LeBron, but
I can give you 2 sets of years where I think he was. I give you a couple sets of years, but that's a different.
That's a different thing. But either way, from guys I watched, it's Kyrie Irving and James Harden. As far as guys from an offensive standpoint, where I'm just like, and Kevin Durant, who I'm just like, man, these guys are just unbelievable.
Melo,
Melo when
polish. No, polish.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't say on that level.
Yeah, he wasn't on that.
I ain't gonna lie, he was definitely in his prime, especially with Denver, because Denver Carmelo is the best one to me. In his prime, he was on KD's level. I will always say that because for a minute, every year, back and forth, they were literally going for scoring titles. They were just this close to each other.
Yeah, and Melo beat him once.
I'm just saying, I ain't saying he a better skill player than Kevin Durant. I'm just saying Melo is up there as far as skill. I'm just saying.
If you add, since NBA players say it, then but I think
they do.
Yeah, my 3 would be Kyrie, Harden, because with the 60-point triple doubles,
crazy.
That stuff was real. He was really
with 30 free throws.
Crazy.
That's 30 with 30 free throws. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah,
but I mean, still, Carl,
it's crazy. I'm just playing. It's crazy.
Even the passing. Like his ability, the stuff he was doing, playmaking wise too, was ridiculous. So I mean, like I said, T-Mac has the right to say that. Anybody does, but if we put it into perspective, James' career was better, and I think he's a better player than T-Mac. You know what I mean? There's not much. To me, there's not much you can argue T-Mac over James Harden if we're going to have that conversation.
that's the thing for far as skill, and because I probably agree with you because T-Mac wasn't a great passer. James Harden in his prime could put up 30, but we know he can put up 10 assists too because you mentioned the triple double. So that's probably where he got him beat is the point guard skills that James Harden had. It still has, but he really had him in his prime along with the 30 points per game. So yeah, he's a better player skill wise and just obviously a career.
Yeah. So I think so. This is an interesting question here. So let's say magically, James Harden stays in Philly, right? Which I can see a world where that happens. So the way I envision things happening for Philly is one or two things. He stays in Philly, or he keeps, screwing around in the offseason, and he may play a few games. He may do the training camp shit, and they trade him in the beginning of the season. It's one of those.
That's a huge turnoff.
Yeah. So let's say he stays with Philly, and let's say he puts up the same numbers this year, which I think he can still do. And they win a title, which is very possible. If James Harden stays in Philly, that Sixers team can win a title. So somebody gonna be like, "It ain't gonna happen." It ain't crazy to say. What does that do for James Harden's career?
If they do win a title,
if they win a title this year, if he stays and he wins the title this year and plays the same way in the regular season, which he did last year, what does that do for him?
I think that'll validate a lot of questions we have about his career.
I'll definitely say, yeah. I'll definitely say this. I don't know what you all think about point guards in the league and where do you rank him, but obviously Steph is he's obviously number one. It would definitely make James Harden the second best point guard in the league. Well, I'll probably say that.
It would depend on what he does statistically.
That's
let's be honest. The only way they're going to win is if he does something great statistically. That's the only way. If he plays bad, it's no way they're probably not even going to reach the Eastern Conference Finals. We saw that. That was literally the reason. Like Joel Embiid did play bad, but he was literally one of the reasons too why they obviously didn't advance. So he's going to have to play well. So that goes without saying.
Let's say we get James Harden in the finals, and he's 20 and 10 in the finals, right?
There you go.
And he looks like James Harden. They win a title. Does that wash? And if we just look at his career as a whole, he's been to a lot of Western Conference Finals, the 30-point per game seasons, all of this stuff that he's done collectively. I think a ring plus a dominant finals performance can wash away a lot of the BS that we saw from him before. Point blank. Period. If all else is equal in the league,
it'll make it even. Probably
it'll still be there, but it'll wash away a lot. Right.
Winning cures all.
It does. So, does that put James Harden in any all-time conversations at all? Because from an offensive standpoint, he's one of the best players we've seen of all time. He's an all-time skill level player. But does a ring put him into any? If we just consolidate everything he's done over the course of his career, does that change?
That's the weird thing, though. It'll probably get him into some. I can't name 10 point guards off the top of my head, but it might get him right outside the 10.
Okay,
right at 10.
I was gonna say that.
Top. He ain't gonna be no top 5 point guard or nothing. No, that's crazy. But top 10, he'll probably be right at 10.
Okay. It can do a lot. A ring can definitely cure a lot for you.